What's going on, everybody? Welcome back here to the Sports Outlet Show. My name's Joe Wagner, alongside these two goons, Brent Allegra and Braden Wilkins. Exciting stuff here today as we are officially 10 days away from kickoff here in week 0 of college football. I'm super pumped. I know these guys are super pumped. Boys, how are we doing on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Like Joe said, he mentioned before the podcast started, 10 days away from the kickoff of college football. That's pretty exciting. That gets you going. It gets you up in the morning. I'll admit, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's been a long summer with no football, and we're almost back, baby. Ready to go.
I feel like we're so close, but like we're so far away at the same time. Like, I mean, we got 10 days till kickoff here for college football. We're basically about tomorrow, 3 weeks away from the NFL season. And we haven't even drafted yet for fantasy football, which has zero money in it. If anybody's watching in our league, there's no money. But other than that, we're talking Big 12 here today, guys. A very, very interesting conference with the fact that 2 national powerhouses are leaving at the end of 2023, moving on to the SEC. That's Oklahoma. That's Texas. Brent, Braden, give me about a 30-second breakdown. Brent, we'll start with you of what that means for this conference and moving forward here for OU and Texas to the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, specifically to Oklahoma, I mean, trash university there. I mean, I personally don't think they even deserve to be in the SEC. Like, come on. At Oklahoma, they suck. Texas, I could see it. Oklahoma, garbage.
And in all seriously, though, 2 of the big teams in this conference, they're shipping out. They're bringing in some new guys this year. They're bringing in some new guys in the future. But this conference is going to look a lot different 1 or 2 years from now with those 2 guys gone. And it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top and cements himself as the new big dog in this conference.
Yeah, it's interesting that Brent says about being a trash program when since the championship era, OU was 11-1 in Big 12 championships since 2000.
Fake. That's a fake stat.
You know, it could be. It could be. I'm just using my resources on the internet. It's not like I have totally any idea of what that means. But yeah, you know what it means. But anyways, let's do a little housekeeping here first. You guys are probably wondering, if you tuned into the last one, the ACC, you're like, you saw the comment, you saw the little blurb, like, where's my gift card, right? We're talking about gift cards. Well, the Sports Outlet Show just loves the idea. You know, Braden, when you're playing blackjack, or Brent, when you're playing blackjack, and they're showing a 6 and you have an 11, you don't hit. What do? It starts with a D.
Double down, baby.
You double down. And that's exactly what the Sports Outlet Show is doing. We wanted to give an opportunity here for all of you to come in, double or nothing. We got a $50 Amazon gift card coming up on the SEC podcast. The winner's going to be announced. How do you enter? Super simple. There's 3 different ways. 1, you like this video. It's kind of creepy. We can see if you like the video. That's 1 vote. 2, you comment on this video. That's worth 2 votes. But Braden, are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
There's a way to get 3. So way to get 3. You go to @outlet_show. I guess it's called X. It's called Twitter. All right, let's get that out of the way. It's called Twitter. You go to Twitter @outlets_show. You follow if you're already following. You comment on the post that just went up about the Big 12 podcast live here today. That gets you 3 votes. And did I mention you could do all 3, Braden? Did I mention that?
You could. What is that, 6 votes?
That's 6 votes.
Whoa.
It's that simple. Our boy Ahmad Davis is going to be live with us for the SEC podcast as a guest star. He's going to announce the winner live. He's a big Go Dogs fan. But other than that, I don't see why we don't just go ahead and kick this off. I know we got 10 days till college football, but here we go. So I kind of wanted to start here a little different. Sometimes we go in alphabetical order. Sometimes we don't. But I wanted to start with the AAC powerhouse that's transferring over conferences. Guys, It's the Cincinnati Bearcats going 9-4, 6-2 in the AAC last season. First year in the Big 12 here for them. It's really kind of a punch my ticket. What can we do here to get to a bowl game and further beyond in the Big 12? This year could be a test year for them with the two powerhouses in OU and Texas still available. But other than that, let's jump right in. As you can see, they went 9-4, 6-2 in their conference. They did lose 7-24 to Louisville, one of the ACC not really fantastic teams. It was kind of a big loss for them, losing by 17 there in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. So I guess things got a little spicy there for them, and they couldn't get a W out there against Louisville. It is their first year in the Big 12. They last won the AAC back-to-back years, COVID year in 2020 as well as 2021, but failed to win last season, their final year in the AAC in 2022 with a 9-4 tenure. Here's the kind of things here for Cincinnati. They're entering first-year head coach. His name is Scott Satterfield. It's going to be his first season here for the Bearcats. Now, you're kind of wondering 9-4 record. That seems kind of interesting to lose your head coach from. Well, that's because, guys, Luke Fickell, their head coach for the past season since 2018, left for a job to Wisconsin. He will be going over to the Big Ten, which you'll hear his name next week as well. And they enter Satterville, who's a Louisville head coach. Kind of funny that you beat the crap out of them in the bowl game, and then you decide to come be the head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats. So there's something that Satterfield saw in this team that Luke Fickell did not. Decided to leave. Satterfield's really known for his 3 straight championships in the Sun Belt titles there with Appalachian State is kind of his background. Moving more into the last side of things is here at quarterback is going to be the former Florida star, actually, Emory Jones. He's a redshirt senior transfer. He had 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks last year with Arizona State. He's had a transfer portal whirlwind. He started in 2020 with the Florida Gators. He was the absolute guy. Anthony Richardson comes in. He gets booted out, goes and transfers to Arizona State. Anthony Richardson named the starter for Indianapolis in week 1, literally yesterday. So Emory Jones has kind of had a back-and-forth career. His 2021 season with Florida was his best so far with 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns. He did throw a career-high 13 interceptions, and that might be where he got the boot from the Florida Gators. Ran to the Sun Devils, blazed out of that fire, and is coming over to Cincinnati, Ohio to try and make a difference. Xavier Henderson's their senior wide receiver. He's also a transfer from Florida, so we're saying Florida a lot here so far. He's a senior wide receiver who had 38 catches, 410 yards, and only 2 touchdowns last season. He's expected to be the workhorse, the workload here for the Bearcats in 2023 as they enter into the Big 12. Now, the real guy here, guys, is senior safety Deshaun Pace. He can also kind of play a hybrid linebacker. I like to compare him to the Carolina Panthers' Jeremy Chin. He has 62 tackles, a sack, a pick, and that pick ran all the way back into the end zone for a touchdown last season. The thing about Deshaun Pace, he's pacing the league, guys. He's going to be a late second-round pick at the very best, entering into 3rd and 4th round picks in the NFL draft in 2024. Should he stay healthy? Should he stay consistent? I'm excited for them. My game to watch for them is going to be week 4 against if you guys didn't see it already, the AP poll just came out on Monday. The number 20 Oklahoma Sooners. That's a huge game for them. It's their first or second game in the Big 12, and they're actually playing in their home stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. A chance to get home field advantage, a chance to possibly play the Oklahoma Sooners. Could they win? I can't give you opinion on that right now. My opinion for them, though, is that Cincinnati goes 8-4. I think they have a really good tenure in their first year in the Big 12. A lot to be excited about for the Bearcats. When OU and Texas leave, I think Cincinnati could be a name to run this division.
Yeah, gotta get back to that college football playoff.
Oh, geez.
That 4 seed. Gotta get back to that 4 seed.
Oh, geez. Because that went so well the first time.
It did. I mean, come on. Gotta give them props for getting there, huh?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Couldn't be Oklahoma. Oh, sorry.
How's Shenandoah doing? I feel like I just targeted about 90% of our fan base.
You got a point.
Anyways, we will shift over to another great basketball school. Brent, tell me about the Bears.
Yeah, so first up for you guys, I have the pleasure of talking to you about the Baylor Bears. Last season, they had a little bit of a subpar year, going 6-7 and only 4-5 within the conference. What's crazy about these Bears, though, is that they started out 6-3 before losing the last 4 of the season. So, not really what they expected to finish out the year. One of those 4 losses was the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, where they lost 15-30 against a 9-3 Air Force team. The last time they won the Big 12 was 2021, where they had an overall record of 12-2. The head coach for Baylor is going on his 4th season with the team. It's Dave Aranda, who has gone for a record of 20-16 over those 4 seasons. The quarterback for the Bears is second-time full-year starter Blake Shapen. Here's the story. Here's the story with Baylor. They have an improved O-line. The receiving core is full of deep threats and veterans, and the running back situation might quietly turn into the best in the Big 12. Everything is there for Baylor to shine as long as the quarterback play is stronger. Last year, Shapen played fine, but it wasn't extravagant by any means. He went for 2,790 yards and 18 touchdowns while also tossing 10 picks. His end of the season was also very poor, as evidenced by the 4 straight losses. So we'll see how he plays this upcoming year. For my player to watch on offense, I mentioned that the offensive line got a lot better. The main reason for that is 2 transfers who also happen to be brothers. They are Campbell and Clark Barrington, BYU transfers who have already established dominance at the college level. The line already had a few decent parts, but now it has its left tackle in Campbell and a dominant NFL-level interior option in Clark, who can work at guard or center. My player to watch on defense is Liberty transfer Mike Smith. He seems to be destined for an all Big 12 performance after recording an 85 tackle, 10 tackles for loss, and 3 forced fumbles season last year. I'm interested to see what added elements he brings to the Bears defense. Their most important game, how about their Big 12 opener versus Texas at home? It doesn't get a whole heck of a lot easier in a loaded conference. So if Baylor wants to make some noise, it has to pull off a game like this to set the tone, especially with the road dates late in the year. With all that being said, there is no reason this team can't take a step up in 2023. It just depends on how big of a step up we're talking in a loaded Big 12 conference. I have them going 7-5 this year.
Yeah, Baylor kind of seems like a finicky team for me. I was watching. I loved watching Big 12 highlights. Just ever since I got to Oklahoma, just kind of seeing what's gonna click, what's gonna go on this season. And Baylor kind of seemed like a boom or bust team. Not to like err on the side of caution or err on the side of like, here we go, we're ready to rock and roll. But like, if Baylor comes out, they're a scary team. Especially you were talking about that offensive line had all the pieces together already. And then you had some brotherly love. I mean, there's nothing like team chemistry than being raised in the same household. So
I definitely think that's a cool story. It's one I'll keep my eyes on throughout the season for sure.
it's like watching the Wagner brothers.
Yeah, 4 of y'all.
Too many getting married now too, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Sorry, guys. Sorry to disappoint. I can't.
Hey, still available. That's what I'm hearing.
That's not true. To shout that out on the public web, but that's okay. Anyways, Braden, you know him, you love him, you want to become one, right? Here we go. BYU.
Yeah, Brigham Young University, the Cougars. Last year they went 8-5. They've been independent, but last year they did beat Baylor in overtime, so that's 1-0 in the conference coming into this year. They did make that bowl game. They beat SMU in the New Mexico Bowl 24-23. Brigham Young has been independent since 2011. They're heading into their first year in the Big 12. Last time they won a conference was the Mountain West back in 2007. Their head coach is Kalani Sitake. It's his 8th year. He's gone 56-34 overall. He's been pretty successful with BYU throughout his career. Their quarterback, though, Keaton Slovis, senior transfer from Pitt. Keaton Slovis is weird, dude. That guy is a wild horse. Last year, he threw for 2,397 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 9 picks for 58.4%. We heard Brent mention those offensive linemen, those brothers transferring away over to Baylor. Keaton Slovis did not thrive under pressure. He was very erratic, and if that offensive line doesn't capitalize and keep the pocket clean for him, it could be another wild year for him. My player to watch on offense is Keanu Hill. He's a redshirt senior wide receiver. Last year, he caught 36 passes for 572 yards and led the team with 7 touchdowns. He should have some more opportunities this year. Keaton Slovis, with his issues, he can find his receivers. My player to watch on defense is Ben Bywater. He's a redshirt junior linebacker with 98 total tackles, 4 TFLs, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown, and 2 pass deflections. He's definitely an off-ball linebacker. That's where he thrives. That's where he specializes, getting those picks, getting those knockdowns. He wasn't behind the line very often, but he did play very well from that off-ball spot. My game to watch for BYU is Week 5 versus Cincinnati. They're facing off another Big 12 newcomer that is 2 years removed from a college football playoff appearance. It should be a sneaky, fun game to watch in the middle of a really tough stretch, including TCU and Texas in the weeks to come. I have BYU taking a bit of a step down. Definitely an off year for them, going 5-7.
I haven't even looked at BYU's schedule. I just know one of the games they play. But Lavelle Edwards Stadium is one of the, I feel like one of the scariest places to go into. I feel like the state of Colorado is like a difficult, not Colorado, excuse me, Utah is one of the scariest places to play in general. They got the Utah Utes and then you got BYU. So you got 2 well-known football programs for the past couple of years. You got Zach Daddy Wilson.
That's what I was going to say. You need Zach Wilson back. Come on. He doesn't deserve to be on the bench.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
Get that man a starting job.
Hey, man, he's making love with Aaron Rodgers. And you've been watching Hard Knocks?
I need to watch the second episode. I need to get caught up.
I haven't watched the second one either because I might refuse to because of how spanked the Panthers got.
Oh, yeah, that'll be good TV for sure.
It won't. No, it won't. I don't want to be reminded about everything again and again and again and again. Now I'm just depressed. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Here we have the Houston Cougars coming in at 8-5, 5-3. First year in the Big 12, again here back-to-back for the Cougars. No, we're not talking about Zach Wilson anymore. We're talking about Houston. 8-5, 5-3 last season, the AAC. They beat the Louisiana Raging Cajuns 23-16 in the Independence Bowl last season. Again, first year in the Big 12 for them, looking to make a mark. They last won the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, as they like to call it. They lost the ship in 2021. That was their last appearance, but they last won it in 2015. Looks like they might be needing to stick to basketball here just a little bit, but we're going to give you the rundown here anyways for the Houston Cougars. Coming in at quarterback, redshirt junior transfer. I love when we have a redshirt a year and a transfer because it's just an absolute mouthful. And I feel like everybody that doesn't understand sports just gets lost. So person that used to not be good, going into 4th total year, 3rd year as actual member of team, decided to leave one team to go to another team. Redshirt junior transfer. I feel like I broke that down pretty well. Donovan Smith is his name. He had 1,505 yards, 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, as well as 7 rushing touchdowns in 2022 with Texas Tech. He's a transfer over there. Switching from Big 12 to Big 12. He thought he was going to the AAC maybe a little bit. He's kind of staying home a little bit. My guy to watch here on the offense is going to be wide receiver. He's a sophomore wide receiver, Matthew Golden. His last name's Golden. He's already a great wide receiver. Last year, he had 38 receptions, 584 yards, and 7 touchdowns all in. He's a phenomenal kid. He gets off the ball really fast. He doesn't have a backdrop on his back step. He gets off the line quick. Dude can run a slant route pretty well. Better than Michael Thomas, probably. I don't mean that. Michael Thomas is the best in the business with it. My guy to watch on defense is junior defensive tackle Nelson Caesar. And no, it's not Caesar like the palace. It's Caeser. That's important because I mistyped it 4 different times. 36 tackles, 18 of those were solo at that flat 50%, which is very respectable. Anyone on that D-line. He had 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pick. A pick for the defensive tackle. Let's get some love in there, first of all. My game for them to watch is going to be week 5 at Texas Tech. # revenge game here for Donovan Smith. Everybody loves a revenge game. There's no doubt about it. Who doesn't? It's not just a revenge game for Donovan Smith, but it's a huge chance early on here for Houston to prove what they have in the Big 12 and moving forward. I think it's going to be a little bit of a pitter-patter year, going back and forth a little bit here for the Houston Cougars. I think at the very best they go 6-6. Work needs to be done, but again, this conference is going to get a lot of help with a couple teams leaving. But again, there are going to be some newcomers coming as well, which we'll touch on here in a couple minutes. Let's go a little bit northeast of me. Brent, talk about the Kansas State Wildcats.
Yeah, next up we have the Kansas State Wildcats. Last season, this team was the champion of the Big 12 with an impressive record of 10-4 and going 7-2 within the conference. With their impressive performance throughout the season, they had the pleasure of taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Sugar Bowl. That one didn't go too hot for the Wildcats. Ended up losing 45-20 in what ended up being a complete blowout led by a 5-touchdown Bryce Young performance. Congratulations, Joe. As mentioned, though, this Kansas State team took the number 3 overall Horned Frogs to overtime and beat them 31-28 in what would be their first Big 12 championship in 10 years. A pretty great ending to the Big 12 season. A lot of their success, though, is attributed to their 5th-year head coach, Chris Kleeman. Since taking over for the Wildcats in 2019, Kleeman has put up a record of 30-20, which is a pretty impressive record for a team that had low expectations when he took the helm. Their quarterback is senior Will Howard, who only had 7 starts under his belt in 2022. He threw for just over 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 4 picks in those games. Kansas State is excited to kind of take a different approach with Howard, as he's more of a downfield passer than previous quarterback Adrian Martinez.
Dog. Dog.
Yeah. The other player to watch on offense, how about some more offensive line love? It's Cooper Beebe. The senior offensive guard is 6'4", 335 pounds. He, along with the rest of the offensive line, helped pave the way for 208 rushing yards per game last year. And this guy has serious NFL first-round potential. So he's a guy to keep your eye on throughout the season for you NFL fans out there. The player to watch on defense is senior safety Kobe Savage. Savage had his first bit of playing time last season, but still racked up 58 tackles, 1 forced fumble, and 3 picks last season. I have their most important game as Week 5 at Oklahoma State. The road game at Texas is tough, but Kansas State needs to get to November 4th with its Big 12 championship hopes still intact. Overall, the Big 12 schedule isn't awful, but going to Texas Tech after traveling to Oklahoma State is hard, and dealing with TCU the week after, that makes the middle part of the slate a key stretch. So lose to the Cowboys, and the pressure is on for the next 2 weeks. And then listen, guys. Last season's Wildcats only lost 3 games last year, but they lost some key pieces, and their schedule is a bit tougher this year. But no, that does not mean this team doesn't still have a huge shot at the Big 12 championship. In all honesty, I could see it being very possible, even likely, depending on what TCU, Texas Tech, and I guess Oklahoma, depending on what they do this season. As you guys will hear a little bit later, Texas is probably a lock to make it there as of right now for me. Make it to that Big 12 championship. I could see it very well being against Kansas State. With all that being said, though, I have this team at a still very commendable 8-4.
Yeah. This Kansas State team in 2022 was one of the most fun, incredible, crazy stories the Big 12 has seen. Weren't they? I might actually be incorrect here, but weren't they ranked or picked to finish dead last in the Big 12 or something last season, or at least in like the bottom, easily in the bottom half? Like I know that for a fact.
Their expectations were not that high going into the season.
They were super low, but Martinez and dude, don't forget about Deuce Vaughn, who tore it up in his first preseason game with the Cowboys, got his first touchdown. The 5'5", 176-pound person that is proving to everybody that small kids can kick some, excuse my French, kick some ass. I'm super pumped to see what he does with Tony Pollard, but Kansas State, I mean, you're losing 2 of your absolute star players. I mean, they're bringing back Kobe Savage, so definitely some different news here. I know in the Big 12 rankings, they were ranked number 2 in the first poll that came out for the Big 12 polling. It was Texas, it was Kansas State, then it was Oklahoma. But definitely a team to watch and see some upsets possibly.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on Deuce Vaughn a little bit. I probably should have mentioned him in Kansas State's success from last season. I'm sure he had a lot to do with those 200 rushing yards per game. But watching some of the training camp footage and the preseason footage, he looks like a little 6th grader running out there, but it's working. He was a dog in preseason. He was probably one of the best preseason performers of week 1. So I'm as a Giants fan, it's hard to be excited for a Cowboys player, but I'm kind of excited to see what Deuce Vaughn brings to the Cowboys next season.
I'm excited for him to be a Panther in 2 years. Hey, Tony Pollard's got a lockdown there.
After that rookie deal, I could see it.
I don't know. All right, Braden, everybody's waiting for it. You got a tall task here. Be honest, be open, and have some fun with it. Let's talk some Oklahoma Sooners football.
Yeah, number 20 in the AP preseason poll, the Sooners. Last year, bit of some growing pains maybe, living in the wake of Lincoln Riley, 6-7, 3-6 in the conference, not dominating as they have in the past. They lost 35-32 versus Florida State in the Cheez-It Bowl. Some ACC supremacy coming in there. But they did win the Big 12 several times under Lincoln Riley and several times over the last 2 decades. Brent Venables is their head coach. It's his 2nd year. He is no Lincoln Riley, but during his first year, he didn't do too bad, just maybe not what some Sooners fans were expecting. He's definitely defensive-minded. He's been a DC for Clemson and Oklahoma over the past several years. They're led by quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Once again, not Caleb Williams, not Baker Mayfield, not Kyler Murray. He's a redshirt senior.
Sam Bradford.
Exactly. Sam Bradford's my goat. Last year he did really well, though. He threw for 3,186 yards, 25 touchdowns, only 6 picks on a 62.7% clip. He also tacked on 315 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. So pretty solid, especially with the defensive-minded first-year head coach. My player to watch on offense is Drake Stoops. He's a slot redshirt senior wide receiver. Last year, he only had 393 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 39 catches from the slot. It's not amazing, but he's definitely a good safety valve. He'll run those slant routes, he'll run those in routes, and he will be open in the middle of the field when you need him to be. And then on defense, it's a completely different story in terms of stats. Danny Stutzman Jr., will linebacker, 125 tackles, 68 of them by himself, 10.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 picks, and 5 pass deflections. He was an all-around monster last year, and this guy should be a lock for the NFL if he has another season even close to that level. My game to watch is Week 6 versus Texas. It's taking on a team that is top 10 in national title odds right before their bye week. Playing spoiler to Texas to cruise into a nice week off would be stellar. That game everybody's going to be watching, potentially for control of this division. I think Venables has a better year than he did last year. I have him going 8-4 with a pretty weak schedule, but not competing for national and conference title odds as they have in the past. Joe, what's your opinion?
For legal reasons, I'm going to butt out here.
Okay.
But
Fair.
Hey, soccer season starts tomorrow. Boomer sooner, baby. We got sports going on. That's
All right.
That's all I'm going to comment at this time.
Since
Brett,
Joe can't interject, I mean, maybe I will.
Go for it.
First of all, you said you got some potential NFL draft picks. No players from Oklahoma are making the NFL. Come on now. That's a wild take there.
Not one.
And then second, and most importantly, you failed to mention the best player on Oklahoma, General Booty. Come on.
Booty. I'm sorry. You love that man. You gotta love General Booty. Man's a legend.
I see a lot of Oklahoma fans in the chat. I know they have some love for General Booty. Come on. I mean,
you have to.
That's a bomb name.
I mistakenly said Sam Bradford was my GOAT. It's actually General Booty.
Okay, good. Between him and Dakotas Crawford, best names in college football.
Love it.
Wow. I was wondering if Braden was going to say something about the name, but Brent, good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which I remember saying that name last year. I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
It was phenomenal. Shout out to all the people from OU we got on here. Logan Egan loves all the booty in Norman.
General Booty.
I mean, gosh,
all the booty.
Can't blame him.
I mean, no further comments from me at this time. Let's move to the Cyclones here with Iowa State, guys. We're getting to Texas right after this, so stay with us real quick. Getting through this whirl of a team. 4-8, 1-8 last season. Iowa State kind of has an interesting, different background here. They started the season 3-0, and one of those huge wins was in week 2 against Iowa. That was huge for them. Iowa State was kicking off this season strong. They were ranked 2021 the year before. They had a crazy season, ranked as high as I think number 11 actually. Iowa State absolutely plummeted. It's like they had us in the first half, not going to lie. This team plummeted in the second half. I mean, you see it. They were 3-0. They started conference play. They went 1-8. That lone baby win against West Virginia. Terrible. Absolutely terrible for Iowa State. They obviously didn't make a bowl game. They have never appeared in the Big 12 championship. They really just not great. But Matt Campbell's entering his 8th season as head coach. I say all this, and at the same point, he's 46-42. He's basically pulling a Mike Tomlin here. So, I mean, the 4-8 season last year, yeah, but I mean, a 9 or 10 win season the year before. I guess they're kind of flip-flopping, a lot of 6-6s in there as well. But here's where this team becomes fun. Here is where this team becomes really fun. If you haven't had your notifications on, you need to turn them on. Junior quarterback Hunter Deckers is in a current sports betting scandal. Those that haven't really been keeping an eye on it, Iowa State star quarterback is accused of betting 366 bets of $2,799. Now I know what you're thinking, guys. You ready for this? That math comes out to $13 per bet. What is this dude betting on for $13 per bet? What?
Golf.
Probably. He's not Phil Mickelson though. Including a 2021 football game that he bet on. So this is an ongoing scandal currently. Should there be a possible suspension, which it's looking like there's gonna be, if the NCAA is taking anything from the NFL book, for Calvin Ridley doing one bet, for someone doing 366, I would expect a 365-day suspension for a year. 400 deckers. If that's the case, they got a redshirt freshman or they got a freshman at quarterback. Backing up was Rocco Becht. He went 7 for 15, 65 yards, and a pick last year. He's the redshirt freshman for Iowa State coming in. Most likely going to back up for the Cyclones. If it's proven to be true about Deckers, I don't see any way he plays a snap this year. That is a lot of that's a bet per day. Okay. Other than that, they do have some star here at wide receiver with Jaden Higgins. He's a transfer from Eastern Kentucky University. He had 58 receptions, 757 yards, and 10 touchdowns with EKU last season. Shifting over to their defensive side, they have a senior cornerback. Kind of dope name. He goes by TJ Tampa. 39 tackles, 29 of those by himself, a pick and 9 pass deflections. He is a senior, so he is going to have to make a huge mark to make the draft this year. But look for him to be playing for the Buccaneers next year, baby. TJ Tampa. My game to watch for them is going to be Week 4 versus Oklahoma State. That game is going to be at home. My thing is Week 4, I don't think they're going to start 3-0. I looked at their schedule. I think they actually had a really tough game to start. Yeah, they have Iowa again. Iowa was number 25 there in that poll. They have Northern Iowa, then Ohio. They should go 2-1 there at the very worst. But if they do somehow miraculously start 3-0 here to start the season, that's my game to watch because it's Week 4. It's your first week in the Big 12 for the season. Just don't do what you did last year and you'll be okay. It's that simple. My 2023 prediction for Iowa State, yes, I am saying they lose to Iowa, is going to be 5-7. I don't think this team is fantastic. The question mark around quarterback is huge, especially this deep into the offseason with college football starting in literally 10 days. A lot to look out for here for the Cyclones. I don't see much getting done here. 5-7 at the ceiling for me is 6-6. But that's the Cyclones, baby. I don't know. That's what I got. Well, we started with one powerhouse in OU. Then we decided to take a little intermission so you guys could get your popcorn for Iowa State. Now you have your popcorn. You have your break. Here's the movie with the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, boys, we going horns down or horns up this year?
I don't know. Is Texas back? Are they?
They're back.
Oh.
They're back, baby.
Oh, wow.
The Texas Longhorns, the favorite to win the Big 12 right now. Last year went 8-5, 6-3 within the conference. Quinn Ewers obviously was a little banged up last season. But they were good enough to make a bowl game. They lost 20-27 to Washington in the Valero Alamo Bowl. And then the last time they won the conference was 2009, where they had a 13-1 record and 8-0 in conference play. We'll see this season. Might be getting back to that conference championship glory. Their head coach, Steve Sarkisian, he went 13-12 all time going into his third season. I think he'll be padding some more wins to the stats this upcoming year. As mentioned, I touched on it a little bit already. Quinn Ewers, redshirt sophomore, last season had 2,177 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 6 picks. He was hurt in week 2 versus Alabama, but he is a projected first-round pick in next year's NFL draft. And he is also a Heisman candidate currently, preseason Heisman candidate. So we'll see how Quinn Ewers performs this season with Arch Manning breathing down his back. Because I don't know if you guys have seen it. You have reports saying Quinn Ewers is going to win the Heisman. And then you have reports on the other end saying Arch Manning is pushing for the job. So I don't know what is going on with Texas beat writing, Texas fans. I don't know. But obviously, Arch Manning will probably be a generational talent. I think it was yesterday in practice, he had a 70-yard rushing touchdown where he hit 20 miles per hour top speed. So obviously a little bit more athleticism than his uncles Peyton and Eli. The other player to watch on offense is Xavier Worthy, a junior wide receiver. This guy is the second best wide receiver in college football. Hands down. That's what I think. He has elite athleticism. His route running is crisp. He's fast. He had a little bit of a down season last year, 60 catches, 760 yards, and 9 touchdowns. His freshman season, let me pull it up for you guys, 981 yards and 12 touchdowns. So obviously had a very, very young breakout age, which is what you want to see in these NFL prospects. Xavier Worthy is a problem. He is a problem. And then on the other end, on the other side of the ball, we have Jalen Ford, a senior linebacker. He had 119 tackles, 62 of those solo, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 4 picks, and 2 passes deflected last year. So obviously very, very, very good stats for Jalen Ford last season. He's a projected 7th-round pick in next year's NFL draft. My game to watch for this upcoming season is week 2 at Alabama. This game to me has vibes like Alabama and Tennessee last year. I could see it being one of the most exciting games in college football in the regular season this upcoming season. And I know personally I'm going to have that checked on my calendar because I'm watching that game. With that being said, like I said throughout this segment, this is a very, very good Texas team. I have them going 10-2 this upcoming season. I could honestly see them pushing for 11-1 as well. That's how good this roster is.
Brent, I'm curious, and I'll give you some time to pull up the Texas football schedule super fast. Off of your prediction, 10-2, 11-1, and maybe you don't even need it. Who are those losses to, and what's the ways around not losing those games?
One is Alabama. I mean, just it's the beginning of the season. I don't know if Texas will have enough energy to push for that win that early in the season. It is. I mean, last season I said it. They were 8-5. I think they're going to be a lot better this year, but they might have some hiccups to start. Especially with Quinn Ewers only getting limited playing time last year. So yeah, I have Alabama being the loss. The other game, I forget which one I had, but between they play Oklahoma, they play Texas Tech. I think they might play Baylor as well. Between those 3 teams, they'll probably lose somewhere else. There's always one other loss that probably should have been a win somewhere on the schedule. So I have them going 10-2.
Yeah, their schedule is definitely one of the toughest in college football this season. I mean, you're looking at the AP poll right here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that are already ranked on their schedule. That's Alabama, that's Oklahoma, that's Kansas State, and that's TCU. You mentioned it, Texas Tech. That's a team that could possibly be ranked. Heck, apparently Kansas likes to throw themselves in the wind and could be ranked at any God-given reason.
Only in the beginning of the season.
Only when they're 4-0, baby, and college game days in Lawrence, Kansas. You know how it goes. But my question to you, Brent, is this. I need you to read the Valero Alamo Bowl matchup real quick.
Washington
Versus
Texas.
Correct. Now, from what you said in our segment about the Pac-12 about Washington, in a given percentage with how high you are on Washington and how high you are on Texas, what is the possibility that it's a college football playoff matchup?
I think it's possible, but I don't think both will make it. And I have Washington ranked higher. So I'd say Washington will have a higher chance of making the college football playoffs than Texas. Although I will say, if you win the Big 12, I mean, you saw it with TCU last year. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
See what happens. And TCU even lost in the ship. So,
and if their only loss is to Alabama, they're a lock. They're a lock to make it, in my opinion. So
they gotta get a job done in Dallas, Texas before they can figure that one out.
Yeah.
No further comments from me at this time. Braden, talk to me about another team that's going to rile up the comment section a little bit.
Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. The Cowboys, that name just puts a bad taste in my mouth. But the Oklahoma State Cowboys last year were 7-6 and 4-5 in the conference. They lost 24-17 versus Wisconsin in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. They won the Big 12 back in 2011 with a 12-1 record. Their head coach is Mike Gundy. It's his 19th year with the Cowboys. He's 156 and 75 all time. So great record there for Mike Gundy. But the quarterback situation this year is a bit murky. They have Garrett Rangel, redshirt freshman last year. He appeared in only 4 games. He went 59 for 115, 711 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Not great. They also brought in Alan Bowman, a redshirt senior transfer from Michigan, formerly Texas Tech. His best year was his freshman year in 2018 with 2,638 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 6 picks with 69.4% completion rate in 8 games. So that freshman year in 2018 was great. Other than that, he hasn't seen too much playing time. He's been behind. He's been behind a bunch of guys, and he's finally getting the starting chance here, likely. My player to watch on offense is Dalton Cooper. He's a redshirt senior left tackle. He transfers in from Texas State. He's 6'6", 320. He's coming in to fill out a very experienced offensive line in which the youngest player is a redshirt junior among starters. So this offensive line knows what they're doing. They've been playing for a long time, and they should be able to protect whichever one of these quarterbacks ends up winning the starting job. My player to watch on defense is Kendall Daniels, a redshirt senior safety. He had 71 tackles, 6.5 TFLs, 3 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble. My most important game for them is Week 13 versus BYU. These Cowboys are playing all 4 of the newcomers in the last 5 weeks of the season, with a game against Oklahoma shoved in between. So that stretch to end of the season is going to be rough. They're not familiar with BYU, with UCF, with Houston. They're not familiar with those teams, and Oklahoma is always going to be a challenge with their in-state rivals. This team is trending in a bit of a weird direction, but with head coach Mike Gundy at the helm, they should be just fine. I've been going 8-4 this year.
Braden, you talk about that smack dab in the middle with OU in it. It's also historical to note that it'll be the last season in the Big 12 ever that OU and OSU play one another. That game is being played in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and it's going to be the last bedlam for goodness knows how long. So that is a game to put on your calendar as well.
Absolutely.
But other than that, I mean, we know why everybody's here. We know why everybody's here. It's about the Kansas Jayhawks, 6-7. Oh, they had a really bad back half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas started 3-0, right? They were ranked. They got hype, all right? They went 4-0. They beat Duke. College football game day went there. It was probably the craziest thing the world's ever seen between two blue blood basketball programs. And it was awesome. It was great for college football to see the Blue Devils take on the Jayhawks in an undefeated battle in week 4. Obviously, the hype train left the station when college game day left Lawrence, Kansas. They ended the season going 2-7, losing a bowl game to Arkansas in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl in triple overtime in a game that combined for 108 points. That's Big 12 football for you. They lost 53-55. It was an offensive showdown behind second-year head coach Lance Leipold, who's entering his 3rd season, who is 8-17 with the Jayhawks. So he took a 2-10 team and took them to 6-7 in his 2nd season. Very impressive for Kansas, for a football organization that has had no life and has only had basketball since God created the earth. That simple. But they have the Jalen W. They had the Jalen Dub over there in basketball, and now they have Jalen Daniels, the senior, over here at quarterback, who had 2,014 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Listen to that again. 4 interceptions the entirety of that year. That's very impressive for a college football quarterback. He also had an additional 77 carries, 419 yards, 7 touchdowns. This guy's currently an undrafted free agent prospect for the 2024 draft. I think he has a lot to prove and can possibly be a 6th or 7th round pick that could help out a team here in the future in the NFL. He's got the speed. He's got the size. He's got to work on the arm and accuracy. But, 4 interceptions, that's nothing. That's something to note. That's something to note. Their big guy is going to be, and I love the fact that Kansas needs to absolutely love the read option this season, is running back junior Devin Neal. He had 180 carries, almost eclipsing the 1,100-yard mark. He was just 10 yards away at 1,090, 9 touchdowns. He's expected to go in rounds 5 and 6 in the NFL draft next season. That's a scary 1-2 punch right there because a read option, throw in a triple option with one of their quick wide receivers. That's something that college football has been a foundation on, is that read option, and is messing with college kids' head who's thinking about a girlfriend, who's thinking about their next homework assignment. I don't know what they're thinking about, Braden, but they're definitely not sure who they're thinking about between Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal. But at corner, not spelt the same way, but they have cornerback, a junior. His name is Kobe Bryant. He had 37 tackles, 31 of those were solo, a fumble recovery, 3 picks, 9 pass deflections, and a touchdown. He is the heart and soul of this Jayhawk defense, and a defense that was very, very poor in the back half of the season. Again, Big 12 football. My game for them to watch is going to be Week 11 versus Kansas State at home. Will Kansas State be ranked at this point? It's possible. It's likely, actually. And can they win the battle in Lawrence, Kansas? It's a battle as old as time. Kansas. You want to beat your in-state rival. It's a huge game for them. And that's what I'm seeing for that. My prediction for Kansas, I think they do exactly similar, going 6-6, making that bowl game. Maybe they'll win it this year. I love Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal as that 1-2 punch. If the defense behind Kobe Bryant can actually get situated, this could be a dark horse team in the Big 12, but I don't see too much progress coming. But I love their offensive style and their offensive schemes to start with.
Do you think they'll start 6-0 and then end 0-6?
I think they're going to start 8-0 and end 6-6.
And then my other question, there's another corner, Kobe Bryant, because there's a corner on the Seahawks named Kobe Bryant too. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Mm-hmm. I did.
There's a corner on the Seahawks named Kobe Bryant. So
could you imagine if they got drafted to the same team?
Got a lot of
Michael Carter.
got a lot of football Kobe Bryant's coming up. It's his second comings.
Hey, it can't be worse than Michael Carter and then Michael Carter II getting drafted in that order by the Jets in the same draft.
Yeah, that was pretty
That's kind of
confusing there
funny.
for a while. Although I don't think Michael Carter will be much of a factor anymore.
Which
No.
is stupid.
We talked about it last week. They just collect running backs, and we didn't even mention Bam Knight when we were talking about that.
Yeah, Zonovan.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some.
You guys are itching to talk NFL football a little bit. We'll get there, I promise. College football, guys, 10 days. Come on, let's get back in here. Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's me. We got the old Texas Tech Red Raiders. Last season, they had a decent record of 8-5 while going 5-4 within the Big 12. They ended their season on a bit of a high note, obliterating Ole Miss 42-25 in the Tax Act Texas Bowl. In that game, they were led by quarterback Tyler Show, who racked up 111 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. More on him to come. Unfortunately for the Red Raiders, though, is that you have to go back to 2008 for the last time they won the division and 1994 for the last time they won their conference, which was the Southwest Conference at the time. Texas Tech is hoping to get back into Big 12 contention in the coming years. Texas Tech does have some hope at the head coaching spot with Joey McGuire trying to build off his initial season last year. Hopefully, he can be the long-term answer there for the Red Raiders. Now for more about that quarterback I was talking about, Tyler Show. At first glance, you would think that he had a pretty lackluster year at only 1,300 passing yards on the season. But this guy played in only 7 games and ended his season in a pretty extravagant way. In his second to last game of the season, he put up 436 passing yards against yours truly, Oklahoma. And in the last game of the season, he ran for over 100 rushing yards, as I mentioned, in that bowl game against Ole Miss. This guy is the epitome of a dual threat, and I look for him to build off his abbreviated year last season. The other player to watch on offense comes from an established veteran position group. It's wide receiver Jarrand Bradley. Bradley put up over 14 yards per catch and added 744 total receiving yards for 6 touchdowns last year. But one of the best players on this team is Malik Dunlap, a senior corner. Last season, Dunlap contributed 33 tackles, 1 pick, and a season-high 12 passes deflected. I have the Red Raiders key game as Week 6 at Baylor. There will be plenty of huge moments over the first half of the season, but this is when Texas Tech should be able to show whether or not it's a serious player in the Big 12 chase. Last season, Texas Tech lost to Baylor 45-17, so it's a chance for a little bit of a revenge from last year. And then look, if I'm being honest, the Big 12 is so tight that Texas Tech has a chance in any one of their games, but they will likely be heavy underdogs in the games against Oregon and Texas. With all that being said, this team has the talent to at least tie their win total from last season. I have their final record at 8-4.
You sound pretty pumped about that quarterback.
He was good. I mean, I don't know if you watched that game at all last year, but 436 passing yards in a game is pretty solid. He only had some limited starts, so I'm interested to see how he builds off that next season.
I'm interested to see it too. It's what I love about college football. Anyways, you know what's great about college football is that you see some golden players all the time. You see some players light up and become golden. Well, there's a team that's golden too, Braden. Tell me about them.
The UCF Golden Knights, baby. Last year they went 9-5. They weren't in the Big 12 yet, Last year, they did play one of the teams that's going to be in the conference this year, and they beat them. They beat Cincinnati. They lost 13-10 versus Duke in the Military Bowl. They lost to Duke football, which is something we didn't think we'd be saying. The last time they won their conference, they won the AAC back in 2018 with a 12-1 record. Their head coach is Gus Malzahn. It's his third season with UCF. He's gone 18-9 in the past 2 seasons. It's his 11th year as a head coach overall. He spent some time with Auburn from 2013 to 2020, and he has gone 94-47 in his career. Their quarterback is John Reese Plumlee. He's a redshirt senior. Last year he threw for 2,586 yards, 14 touchdowns, 8 picks on a 63% clip. He also added over 800 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. So he's a bit of a dual threat as well. He can punch it into the end zone. He had just almost as many ground touchdowns as he did air touchdowns. My player to watch on offense is Kobe Hudson. He's a senior wide receiver. Last year he had 641 yards with 7 touchdowns on 39 catches and 16.4 yards per catch. I see this guy having a lot more opportunities this year, and on that 16.4 yards per catch, that's very, very good. So hopefully he's going to be targeted by John Reese Plumlee a little bit more than those 39 catches that he had. My player to watch on defense is Jason Johnson. He's a senior linebacker. Last year he had 106 tackles and 67 solo tackles. That is more than double their next leading tackler, Kobe Perry. He also tacked on 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles, and he recovered 2 fumbles as well. My game to watch is Week 4 at Kansas State. This team avoids TCU and Texas, but they are taking on one of the better teams in the conference. Last year, their first Big 12 game will be a tough introduction to the conference for the Golden Knights. I have this team going 7-5, a little bit of growing pains coming into the conference, but still a very promising season in your first year.
First of all, Jason Johnson's a dog.
He is.
That is some excessive.
He needs some help. He can't do it himself.
Is he playing like Thad Castle out there, Braden?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, his total tackles is more than double the next guy. It's crazy.
That's some Luke Kuechly style Boston College type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is John Reese Plumlee related to Mason Plumlee, the NBA player?
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure.
It's just an interesting last name. Huh?
They're third cousins.
Are they actually?
Oh.
No, I don't know.
I don't even know if that's a thing.
Third cousins?
I couldn't tell you. I know Kirk Cousins.
It doesn't look like they're related.
He was on the show Quarterback.
He was, and I loved him on Quarterback.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job. In all seriousness, though, UCF, in my opinion, could be a team that runs this conference in the next 5 years, like a dynasty run program this conference.
Yeah, like I said, I think they're gonna have some growing pains, but with Oklahoma and Texas leaving and some other chumps coming in, we'll see what they can do.
Chumps? How dare you talk about prime time like that? Totally wasn't talking about Arizona State or Arizona. Totally not. Anyways.
Basketball.
Oh, I forgot there was a national championship team in here. Okay. Sorry. Runner up. 2022 TCU Horned Frogs. You would feel like this would be a really big part, like a really big segment. Like you would think this would be a big part of the Big 12 that everybody's here for, talking about. They weren't even in the top 3 for the Big 12 discussion. TCU went 13-2, 9-0, a Cinderella story run of the ages behind quarterback Max Duggan, Sonny Dykes, and Quentin Johnson. Absolutely miraculous, but what was even more impressive, the fact they took it to J.J. McCarthy and the Michigan Wolverines in the college football playoff. Send Harbaugh straight into suspension. Sorry. Sorry if Alex is watching this. Sorry about Michigan, by the way. I'll read word for word about their bowl game. They did not make a bowl game because their bowl game was the College Football National Championship, where they lost. Oh, that might be a typo in there. Did they lose 7-65? Did this team lose by 58 points?
I had them covering the spread.
The spread was 14.5.
Wait, at one point, the game was 10-7. Okay, that's all I know.
You're right. Max Duggan ran in a 2-yard touchdown, if I'm not incorrect.
Something like
Anyways, let's break it down for you. They beat Michigan in one of the biggest upsets in college football history. Then they decide to come to the national championship and play the reigning champs, the old man Stetson Bennett, Georgia Bull friggin' Dogs, with half of the Philadelphia Eagles defense on the team.
Shut up.
They lost this game by 58 points, which was the biggest blowout loss in national championship history. I'm not joking. The previous record, 2004, when USC beat Oklahoma 55-19, a 36-point dub. So Oklahoma fans, take a breath. It's over. It's forgotten about. Oh, my word. The worst championship.
What an upset by Georgia.
The worst championship performance the world has ever seen. They put in their backup quarterback. That guy's name was Chandler Morris. He played a snap and went 0 for 1 in the college football playoff national championship. Anyways, let's get to some highlights here. I'm done talking trash. Chandler Morris is a redshirt junior transfer. He went 18 for 27, 149 yards, and a touchdown. Those of you OU fans that are still with us, you might know the name because he committed to OU in 2020 and transferred out 2 years ago to become a Horned Frog. Their guy to watch, guys. This is the most offensive line love we've ever had in a podcast. Senior left tackle Brandon Coleman, absolute beast. 6'6", 325, honorable mention, all Big 12. Almost an absolute lock to be all Big 12 this season, no honorable mention attached. He played over 1,000 snaps for the team, all 15 games, every single snap he was involved in. Senior corner Josh Newton's the guy to watch on the opposite end of the ball. 35 tackles, 26 of those solo, 3 picks, a team-high 12 pass deflections, a touchdown, and is expected to go in the 4th round of this year's NFL draft should he stay healthy. My game to watch, and it's a dope one. It's not being aired on Amazon Prime for Black Friday, but it is Black Friday football, college football, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time kickoff. It's Week 12 at Oklahoma. This feels like a storybook Big 12 ending if Oklahoma and TCU are battling for the final spot against Texas. That would be get out of here, Brent. That would be
or Kansas State, sorry.
Fair. That would be absolutely crazy if it was. I'm just saying, if college football is scripted, I know it's not. I say that for legal reasons, but I know it's not, but that would be nuts. Especially being in Norman, that'd be awesome to see. TCU, they have all the foundation. They have the pieces. Sonny Dykes is a great head coach. I mean, his first season, he went to the national championship. How much better can you get? I mean, you could win the thing, but other than that, extremely impressive first-year head coach. Look for him to take some steps to develop Chandler Morris this year. I have TCU taking a drop to 9-3. I mean, how can you kind of not take a drop when you're not returning 2 first-round picks from TCU? They also lost, what's the guy's name? It was Felice something.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's the defensive end, absolute stud. I'll get back to it later. TCU 9-3. I believe they have some depth there to them. I'm excited to watch the Horned Frogs play again this season, but that game in Week 12 will be huge. Well, seems kind of lackluster to end the podcast with this garbage, but we'll do it anyways.
Gotta.
Wait, they're in the Big 12? Oh, that changes things for me. They're winning. Come on. We can end it here. Big 12 champions, WVU.
Brent, I have one question about this entirety of the podcast. Are you drunk? I just need to know.
Like Maddie said, I'm just trying to keep you guys on your toes. Come on. Trying to have a little fun here.
There's a difference between keeping us on our toes and talking to two Virginia Tech Hokies.
I mean, and then these guys in the comments that the Oklahoma stuff, I mean, good grief.
WVU's coming.
Brent, please talk about West Virginia so I can get out of here.
Ending the night for you all, Braden and I will be talking about the lesser of the two Virginias. That's West Virginia University. Last season, WVU was second worst in the Big 12, going 5-7 and 3-6 within the conference. With that record, they were not good enough for bowl eligibility. Kind of like Texas Tech, though, it's been a long time coming since this team was conference or even division champions. It's been over 10 years, and you have to go back to 2011 to the Geno Smith and Tavon Austin days. By the way, those guys were extremely fun to watch in college.
Oh, 100%.
I'll give
Absolutely.
WVU that. That was a fun team. But at head coach, it's fifth-year man Neil Brown, who has yet to notch a season above 6 wins with the team. And honestly, it's kind of surprising he's made it this long at the helm. If he doesn't at least have a chance at the Big 12, which it's not even remotely possible given their roster and given the other talent in the Big 12, it's donezo for Mr. Neal. I don't see him lasting past this season. There's no way. Anyway, Braden, take it away with the rest.
Yeah, Brent, I'm absolutely with you on Neil Brown. That guy might have the hottest seat in terms of coaching in
Top 5 for sure.
That guy's seat is on fire. Their quarterback, JT Daniels, flew away, went over to Rice. He's gone. So that leaves him with Garrett Green. He's a junior. Last year, he was 62 for 108 for 664 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 picks. Oh, that's not last year. That's over his 21-game career with WVU. He's getting a chance at the starting job. My player to watch on offense is C.J. Donaldson. Man's a huge sophomore running back. Last year, he had 526 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground, averaging 6 yards per carry before suffering a leg injury after 7 games. So if he's healthy, that could be the highlight of this offense. C.J. Donaldson, man is huge. Man is a bruiser. He's a power running back. And if he's healthy, this team or this rushing team could be good. Sean Martin is my player to watch on defense. He's a junior defensive end. Last year, he had 34 tackles, half of which were solo, 8 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He will be seeing a lot more action, and that could mean even more production with a lot of this team transferring out. They did have some guys transferring in. So this team looks a lot different than it did last year. And it didn't look very good last year. And it takes time to put together a new team. And I don't think the talent that they brought in is going to do much for them. And then they played at Penn State in week 1. It could be a very rude awakening for this new Mountaineer team. They should be 1-1 because they played Duquesne after that before the backyard brawl against Pitt in week 3. This team is by far, talent-wise, the worst team in the Big 12, and I have them with the worst record, going 4-8. Goodbye to that head coach. He's gone.
He's
actually ranked number 2 on the hot seat. I'm not sure if you looked that up or not, or that was just a bold guess.
Oh no,
no,
sure.
I knew it had to be flaming hot. He's
Who's
been with
number
the
1?
team, like I said, 5 years, has not notched 6 wins in any of those years. Like that's terrible. That's terrible.
Who's number 1?
To be announced in the Big Ten podcast next week. I guess you got to come and find out, baby. I guess you got to come and find out. Anyways, we got the Big Ten next week here, guys. Thanks for sticking around with us here. One note for you guys that don't understand the East Coast or geography at all. Take Me Home, Country Roads is a song about Western Virginia, not the state of West Virginia.
This is true.
So it is laughable that every single year that is their theme song, that they're talking about the state of Virginia, and they just haven't even figured it out yet. But sorry, that was my Virginia Tech Hokie coming out. Nothing to do with the Big 12, I promise. There are some underlying reasons for that we don't need to get into. It has to do with the Black Diamond Trophy. That's all I'm going to say.
Nothing wrong with a little Virginia pride. We got to rep our state, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. That's how I know I'm in Virginia, baby.
Heck yeah.
Literal lyric in the song. That's all I'm going to say. 100%. Anyways, my name's Joe Wagner. I'm your host here with Brent Allegra, Braden Wilkins. Don't forget, throw some extra comments in there. I don't like saying like or subscribe. Do it if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. That's fine. We won't care. We won't think about it. We won't stay up all night thinking about it, crying, and, all those fun things. Anyways, thanks for tuning in here at the Big 12. Remember, $50 Amazon gift card here on the line at the SEC podcast here in 2 weeks. We'll see you for the Big 10 next week. We're talking Ohio State. We're talking Michigan. We're talking about the head coach with the hottest seat in college football. We'll see you guys next time here on the Sports Outlet Show. It's peace out here from Oklahoma, from Virginia. We will see you guys next time. See you.